Think of the smartest person you know. What is the dumbest thing they've ever done? Guy with a PhD in chemistry. Had a problem with electric furnace. It kept switching off the circuit breakers. So he was told by someone to stick a wooden splinter in it to keep the switch up. But it was too weak and the gap in the breaker too narrow. So he took some strip of metal instead. Well, he still lives, but he said he almost shat himself. My friend has a master's degree in mechanical engineering and robotics. He once made a potato salad with raw potatoes because he thought, since it's a salad, you're not supposed to cook it? This is the kind of real-world practical thing my friend would screw up. I love it. My brother was in uni in the UK and needed a toaster. He ordered on off of Amazon for $3 and was surprised to find one so cheap. Turns out it was a kid's toy. It came with plastic pieces of bread as well. Hey, I'm gonna buy a really cheap car. Friend of my mother's. Ph.D. in biology. Specialized in mushrooms. She was also a bit of an artist. And carved wood with bacteria in her spare time. She'd previously tried to do it with fungus. And, well, it wasn't fast enough. After a few years of carving with bacteria, she decided they weren't fast enough either. So she switched to insects. Ordered banned beetles from Japan. Illegal insecticide from South America. And went to town carving faces in wood. Except that the government had noticed. When she got raided, there were 6 federal agencies and at least as many from the state. FBI. EPA. DIA. FWS. USDA. CBP. HERO. I'm a professor of biology at college, worked great. The DIA and FBI were willing to overlook her coca-based insecticide, considering that she was eligible to purchase it with a couple of forms. The EPA and CBP didn't care about her illegal boring beetles for much the same reason. Fish and wildlife didn't even know why they were there. The problem was the USDA. During the search of her house, they found a bag of the fungus that causes Dutch elm disease. Open. On the kitchen counter. Next to the toaster oven. She even got out of that. My sister. My wonderful sister. So intelligent. Educated, but dang. They had their house inspected and the inspector found an issue with their gas heat. Called in a repairman and it turns out they were having lower levels of carbon monoxide leaking into their home. When my mom asked her why she didn't have several working detectors, she answered, well, I did. But one just wouldn't quit beeping. This was 10 years ago and we still bring it up all the time. Thankfully everyone turned out to be okay. But that wouldn't have been the case much longer. Is it possible she was already being impaired by the carbon monoxide? Hence the less than ideal reaction to the beeping detector? That is a possibility because now she sees how ridiculous she sounded. I'm so thankful they're all okay because she has 5 kids and one was an infant at the time. The repairman said they wouldn't have lasted long through the winter when they used the furnace full time. My dad is a software engineer and pretty smart. When my twin and I were about 7, he was the only one home with us when he started coughing up blood. Except he didn't tell anyone and decided to just wait for my mom to get home instead of getting someone else to look after us and going to the hospital. My mom was so pissed when she got home and he casually mentioned the coughing up blood thing. Turned out he had bronchopneumonia and had to spend a couple weeks in the hospital. Even had to have his heart stopped and started again. He almost died because he decided coughing up blood wasn't an emergency. Even had to have his heart stopped and started again. He truly was a software guy. I imagine them unplugging his tachykardiogram. Everyone waiting 30 seconds. Then plugging it back in to resume compressions. 28. 29. 30. Okay. Time to plug him back in again and see if it works this time. I have a neighbor. He is by far the smartest person I know. A couple 4th of Julys ago he got a quarter stick of dynamite and strapped it to an RC boat with a detonate button and a timer. He sent it out on the lake at night. Flipped the switch and it didn't go off. So he took it back into the house to fix it, but never turned the detonate button off. So when it was fixed, the 7-second timer started going. It ended up going off in the house and blowing out all of the windows. Everyone was safe. TLDR. My neighbor blew up his house. It's like an episode of Wile E. Coyote and the Road Runner. Easy. Dad's an actuary. Basically a cross between a mathematician and an economist. Wrote a textbook for his field. And has been CEO of several very large companies. I came home many years ago to hear Age of Empires blaring at 1,000,000 dB. That's odd. I wander downstairs to find him playing the game. With headphones on. But unplugged. He had the sound turned up on the speakers because he couldn't hear it over the dampening of the headphones. To top it off, he had the headphones on backwards. To this day makes me smirk. We were in a conference that mentioned bulimia and she said, I think I have ancestors, feed 'em there. And to cap it all off, she'd recently been diagnosed with bulimia. Brother-in-law is a pretty clever guy. Ran a bath for his kid. Couldn't get the tap to turn off. Mad panic. Rang a plumber friend asking him to come round quick or the house is gonna flood. Friend was like, you could just pull the plug. Real nice. Real clever guy. Zero common sense. A lot of people are only used to things going right and working as they should. When things don't, they become complete vegetables. Where we are, you don't mess with jellyfish. They've beep you up. My partner. Post-grad quals. Civil engineer. Super rational. Smart. Measured. Not at all impulsive human being walking along the water's edge at the start of jellyfish season. Sees a mass in the water. That looks like a jellyfish. Kicks the mass. Toe connects with mass. Beep. It was a rock. Having gotten over my amazement at the stupidity I just witnessed, I pocketed the rock. Gave it to him as a congratulations at your amazing career promotion. Just to remind him he is not immune to errors of judgment. Amazing foresight. I'd have that on my desk forever. I did my undergrad with a guy who got an almost perfect score on his MCAT but also ate a raw chicken breast because he thought it was a really bad hot pocket. He was sober, undefined. He's a surgeon now. My friend once ate a frozen burger from the freezer because what's the difference if it's hot or cold? He, however, was an idiot. My older brother was the high school valedictorian and decided to cut an apple with a large knife while holding it in his hand. He has a lovely scar from it. Oh my god, my now husband and boyfriend did that in my dad's kitchen. He cut his finger. Ran to the bathroom. Refused to sit down or let me help him. And proceeded to faint. Also, this was the first time my husband met my dad. So solid first impression. This feels like an episode from Modern Family. My dad, TAF professor, got his mortgage down to 20,000 and had the opportunity to pay it all. Redrew and bought a brand new car. Totaled car. Bought another brand new car. Gave it to girlfriend at the time. Girlfriend left and kept car. Currently owes 250,000 on his same mortgage. Wow, that is spectacularly stupid. No offense. None taken. I completely agree. My buddy, who is now a brilliant emergency medicine doctor, at one point while sledding bet he could jump off his moving sled over a flat bench and land on the sled while moving. He realized he couldn't position to jump and crashed ribcage into the bench. Dumbest genius I have ever met. Sounds like his career origin story. Looks at mangled, reconstructed ribcage. What did they do? We had some of the best doctors working you. No one could have done better. I could have done better. Montage of him becoming an emergency doctor. They used their bare hand to check if the stove was still hot by pressing it directly on the burner. And they had 2 doctorates. While applying for a job, he thought sick pay meant that the job paid really well. One of my favorite ones so far. My husband. He's a mathematician for the feds. But he has repeatedly gotten us to the wrong airport in cities that have more than one. Like at least 3 times. He's brilliant. But a moron. I'm also married to a mathematician. I feel your pain. I wouldn't trust him to plan or navigate any kind of travel. Ever. I lived in Colorado Springs. My friend came into town and was booked into a hotel. I called and asked for the name or address of the hotel and he told me he did not know. But he could see the mountains from where he was. He narrowed his location down to a time zone. Chief Wiggum giving his location. Suspect appears to be hatless. My aunt. College professor. PhD in mathematics. Was blown away when watching my father cook rice without a rice cooker. My dad is the smartest person I and anyone who knows him know, and once when we were kids he tried to make us laugh by sticking peas in his nostrils and ended up accidentally snorting them up into his nasal passages. Best part? He's an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. One of the best in the region. I can still hear him pleading with my mother to take them out because he couldn't face his colleagues with peas up his nose that he voluntarily put there. My sister once put something like 17 peas in her nose. She shot them out in a machine gun snot rocket blast that was captured in an amazing photo that I can't find. They didn't all come out though. And the last one worked its way out several hours later. Hope you find that photo, friend. Try jumping over a pallet of boxes with their arms tied behind their back. Split lip open. Reminds me of when my friend thought it was a smart idea to cross a busy street blindfolded. Yup. This cricket's a lucky one. I was picking up my date future wife when her valedictorian roommate turned quickly away from the TV and said in all seriousness, "Don't look. They're welding. It will damage your eyes." She got more serious as I continued to look back and forth at the TV and her. She actually yelled, "It's going to blind you." I then asked her, "So when your TV is showing an image of the sun?" That's as far as I got. You could see the wave of embarrassment wash over her face. She immediately started laugh/crying and begged me not to tell anyone. And yet here you are, spilling the beans. Swallowed an entire Jenga piece. Whole. Huh. Did it make it all the way through? A Jenga piece is like 3 inches long, right? My colleague was tasked to put mail into the mailbox. She asked me where it is and what it looks like. Around the corner. And it's a red box. Turns out, there is another red box marked General Waste. About 2 m away is the red box that spells out Australia Post. She's been throwing away mail. Undefined. All the mail that we have to post are return to sender mail. And often junk mail. I don't care that you don't receive monthly spam from Flight Center. Given their reliability, It's what Australia Post would have done anyway. I don't know if he's necessarily the smartest person I know, but I know a pretty smart astrophysicist who pointed out a star to us which was in fact a plane. That's awesome. In all senses of the word.